In bryophytes, we cannot exactly say what is the root, what is the stem, what is the leaf, because they have root-like structures, leaf-like structures and stem-like structures. These bryophytes, wherever they grow, they die and decompose on the rocks. Therefore, they help in the growth of other plants as well. And this is very, very important for the ecologists to study and understand about the ecology of the earth. It's neither the sporophytic stage nor the gametophytic stage, because both of this comes under the leafy stage itself. Everyone, a warm welcome to this session on first PUC Biology. I'm Dr. Divya, Biology Faculty, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Temple of Excellence, Mysore. So in this session, let us study about a topic, bryophytes, under chapter 3, that is plant kingdom. So we'll understand the reproductive structures, the life cycle of bryophytes and all that, and then move into understanding some of the MCQs that can be framed under this particular topic. So talking about bryophytes, so bryophytes are called as the amphibians of the plant kingdom. This is very important because it usually appears in the exam either for 1 mark question, that is one word answers, or in the form of an MCQ or multiple choice question. So bryophytes, they are the amphibians of the plant kingdom. So you know that amphibians are nothing but those organisms that are capable of living both in water as well as on land. So similarly, bryophytes, though they live on land or they are a terrestrial organism or a terrestrial plant, for the fertilization process, that is when they release their zoospores, the zoospores need water to move to the female gametophyte and fertilize the egg in the female gametophyte. So for that, water is needed. So to complete its life cycle, bryophyte needs water, though it is a terrestrial or a land plant. So that is why it is called as amphibians of the plant kingdom. So under bryophytes, there are two important classes, mosses and liverworts. So we'll study about the habitat of bryophytes in general and then move on to knowing about the general characteristics of mosses and liverworts. So talking about the habit or habitat, that is where they are found or where they live. So usually they are found in moist shaded areas in the hills, wherever there is damp or wetness, wherever the temperature is humid and wherever there is enough amount of shade available, everywhere you can find bryophytes growing. And these are the plants that are capable of even growing on bare rocks or on soil. So wherever bryophytes grow, there they tend to form, they die and decay and they form humus, therefore promoting the growth of other plants as well. And talking about the plant body, their plant body is thallus-like. So thallus-like means we cannot differentiate the plant body of a bryophytes into root, leaves, stems, flowers and all that like we do in the case of a plant, right, or any angiosperm. In bryophytes, we cannot exactly say what is the root, what is the stem, what is the leaf, because they have root-like structures, leaf-like structures and stem-like structures, meaning they lack true roots, true leaves and true stems. So that is why they are called as thalloid or thallus-like. And talking about how they grow, they can be prostrate. So prostrate means, example, Markantia. Markantia is prostrate, wherein it grows completely oppressed or close to the ground, just like grass, right? So very close to the ground, completely oppressed to the soil. So that is prostrate. Or erect, for example, like a moss, that is Funaria. So this is Funaria moss. So Funaria moss stands straight, it grows erect. So therefore they can be prostrate or they can be erect. And they are always attached to the substratum, be it a rock, be it soil, be it dead log or wood or tree. They are always attached to it by unicellular or multicellular rhizoids. So in bryophytes, instead of saying that the plants or the bryophytes are attached by roots, we have to say that the plants are attached by root-like structures called as rhizoids. So these are the rhizoids. So next, as I told you, they don't have a true root, a stem or leaf. That is why they are called as thallus or thallus-like. And They possess root-like, leaf-like or stem-like structures, as I've already told about it. Next, talking about the reproduction in bryophytes. So bryophytes also in their life cycle, they have two stages. One is the gametophytic stage and the other is the sporophytic stage. So here the gametophytic stage is the one that is the most predominant in the case of bryophytes. So we'll look into it. So the main plant body of bryophyte is haploid, wherein it has half a set of chromosome and it has gametophyte. Gametophyte, phyte means plant here. Phyte means plant. So gameto, that is gamete, either the male or the female gamete. So any plant that produces the male and the female gamete will be called, or any part of the plant body that produces the male and the female gamete will be called as the gametophyte. So here these gametophytes produces the gametes. So what are the two gametophytes? They have the male sex organ, which is called as the antheridium. Antheridium is the gametophyte. So this is the antheridium, and the female sex organ, the archegonium. So this antheridium, that is male sex organ, it produces anthrozoids. And the archegonium will produce egg. So male sex organ produces anthrozoids. These anthrozoids are biflagellate. So biflagellate means they have two flagella, and because they have flagella, they are capable of moving. But the egg that is there, it is static, it is non-motile. So anthrozoids are motile, the egg is non-motile. And talking about the gametophyte, that is female gametophyte, it is nothing but the female sex organ, which is the archegonium. So this archegonium looks like a flask and it produces one single egg. So what happens during reproduction is, next step is, now you know the reproductive organs, right? So one is the, or you know the gametophytes in bryophyte. It is the male gametophyte, which is antheridia, and the female gametophyte, which is archegonia. The antheridia releases the anthrozoids into the water, and the archegonia produces the egg, which remains inside the archegonia itself. Now the anthrozoids, which are released into the water, they will move towards the archegonia and they will fuse with the archegonia. So what happens here? The antheridia is there. The antheridia, which is the male sex organ, and the archegonia, which is the female sex organ. So this antheridia will produce the anthrozoids, which are motile because they have flagella, that is why. And this archegonia will produce the egg, which is static, means it doesn't move, it is non-motile. So now this anthrozoids will be released to the water. They are released to the water. In the water, they will flow and move towards the mouth of the archegonia, and once they reaches the egg, they will fuse with it. They will fuse. That is nothing but called as fertilization. So fertilization is nothing but the fusion of the male and female gamete is called as fertilization. So fertilization will occur. Once fertilization occurs, it will form a zygote. Now this antheridia will produce anthrozoids, which are haploid, and the egg is also haploid. So the zygote fusion will occur, which will form a diploid zygote. This zygote will not undergo meiosis directly like how we learnt earlier, but the zygote will actually form a sporophyte. Now the sporophyte, I told you, gametophyte means, phyte means plant, and gameto means gamete. That part of the plant body that produces gametes are called as gametophyte, and that part of the plant body that produce spores are called as the sporophyte. Now this sporophyte will produce the spores. So here the zygote, as I told you, zygote will not undergo meiosis directly, but what it will form? It will form a sporophyte. Now this sporophyte, which is always attached to the photosynthetic gametophyte, will undergo meiosis. Now this will undergo meiosis to form spores, to produce spores. So these spores which are haploid in nature. Why are they haploid? The diploid zygote formed a diploid sporophyte. Now this diploid sporophyte will undergo reduction division to form haploid spores. So these haploid spores will again germinate to produce the gametophytes, that is the antheridia and the archegonia. Like that the cycle continues. So this is how bryophytes life cycle occurs. So it has a gametophytic stage and the sporophytic stage. So this part where the antheridia, archegonia produced, all that is the gametophytic stage, and once the zygote forms a sporophyte, that spores forms a undergoes meiosis to produce spores, that is the sporophytic stage. So here gametophytic is the most predominant stage in the life cycle of bryophytes. Remember that because it is very, very important. So this is about reproduction. Now we'll know about the economic importance of bryophytes. So bryophytes, in that mosses, they provide food for herbaceous mammals, birds, animals, etc. And there is a particular moss which is called as sphagnum. So this sphagnum forms peat. So peat is such a substance which gets collected over years, and therefore they can be used as fuel, and because peat is capable of holding too much of moisture, it can be used as packaging material. That is, say for example, you need to transport flowers or fruits to another country. So if you pack it with some plastic or something, it will get spoiled, right? That is when you're shipping it from one country to other. So here what they do is they wrap the material with, or in the box where they put this flowers, fruits and all that, they just on the walls of the box they put this peat, so that it will hold moisture and it will prevent the spoiling of those fruits, or it will keep the fruits and the flowers fresh. So for packing it is used. And these bryophytes, wherever they grow, they die and decompose on the rocks. Therefore, they help in the growth of other plants as well. And this is very, very important for the ecologists to study and understand about the ecology of the earth. And also, they reduce the impact of falling rain and prevent soil erosion, because they form thick mats wherever they grow. They'll hold or bind the soil together, therefore preventing soil erosion when there is heavy flow of water or heavy rain. These are the economic importance. Now talking about the classes of bryophytes. So bryophytes are of two classes, liverworts and mosses. So as I told you, mosses, they form thick mats. Can you see here, wherever this moss is there, you can find lichen also growing. Other angiosperms also will grow well wherever mosses are there. One is because of availability of nutrition and availability of moisture. And these are liverworts. Best example is Marchantia. So let's study about their characteristics one by one. So talking about liverworts, same thing, habitat, everything is same, because they also grow in shady habitat such as banks of streams, and wherever the ground is moist or marshy, wherever it is damp soil is there, wherever there is wet barks of trees, and deep in the woods. Every time deep in the woods is always wet, right? Because sunlight doesn't fall much there. So there and all we can find this liverworts growing. And the plant body is thalloid, because for example Marchantia, here you cannot tell which is the leaf, which is the stem, which is the root and all that, right? So instead they have root-like structures called rhizoids, and they have this plant body is a thalloid. It is a thalloid. You cannot differentiate them correctly. And the thallus, it is dorsiventral, meaning the upper surface and the lower surface of the thallus is one and the same to look, and they are found growing appressed to the substrate. So if they are growing anywhere, they are found. So if you can see here in the previous picture I have shown you, they are appressed, right? See, the entire body is growing continuously on the ground, appressed or binding to the ground. So that is how they grow. And next, talking about the leafy members, some of the leafy members like we have Selaginella and all that, they have small tiny leaf-like structures in them. But Marchantia doesn't have tiny leaf-like structure, but Selaginella has small leaf-like structures. And talking about the reproduction, it can be asexual, it can be sexual. So asexual is a vegetative form of reproduction, is also a form of asexual reproduction. So it can be by fragmentation, wherein small fragments it will break into, and each fragment will develop into a new thalloid or a plant body, and they can produce gemmae. So can you see here, these are gemma cups. So these gemma cups can detach from the thalloid or the plant body and develop and germinate and develop into a new bryophyte or new Marchantia. So what are gemma? So gemma, they are green multicellular asexual buds which develop in small pockets or receptacles called as gemma cups, which is located on the thalli. So all these are gemma. You can see the picture, all these are gemma. They are cup-like structures, and these gemma, as I told you, they detach from the body, from the parent body, they detach, they germinate, and they will form new individuals. So that is how they grow. So this is a asexual method of reproduction because here gametes are not involved, right? So it is a asexual method. Next, talking about the sexual reproduction. So sexual reproduction here, male and female sex organs are produced. I've already told you previously, male sex organ is the antheridia, female sex organ is the archegonia. So you can see here antheridia. So this is the male, right? Antheridia is produced. So you can see here antheridia. This is the antheridia and archegonia, this part, this one, all this is archegonia. It is archegonia. So antheridia can be produced, archegonia is produced. So antheridia, what it will do? It will release anthrozoids. Anthrozoids, same thing, anthrozoids, this will produce the egg. Now, both will fertilize, egg and anthrozoid, they will form zygote. Again zygote, which is diploid, will it undergo meiosis and form spores? No. In the case of bryophyte, zygote will develop into a sporophyte. That sporophyte will undergo meiosis and it will produce haploid spores. These haploid spores will again germinate to form the gametophyte, that is the antheridia and the archegonia. So that is how it functions. So this is about the sexual reproduction. Next in mosses, this was about liverworts. Now moving on to the second class of bryophytes, that is mosses. In mosses, they also have the gametophytic stage and the sporophytic stage. So in gametophytic stage, again mosses exhibit two stages of development in the life cycle. One is the protonema stage and the second one is the leafy stage. In protonema stage, the spore, the sporophyte, I told you, it undergoes meiosis to produce spores, right? Those spores will directly develop into a protonema, which is nothing but a creeping green branched filamentous structure. And after that, after the protonema stage, that creepy green branch filamental structure will develop a lateral bud, which is a secondary protonema, meaning it enters into the leafy stage. It will develop a secondary protonema, and this protonema or leafy stage will be upright. It is very thin, slender, and it has spirally arranged leaves around it, and they are attached to the soil through the multicellular and branched rhizoids, and this stage bears the sex organ. So the antheridia and archegonia is present in the leafy stage. And talking about the reproduction, here also it can be vegetative or asexual method or sexual method. So vegetative, it is by fragmentation and budding. So budding means it will form secondary protonema, which are nothing but small buds. Those buds, they detach and they form into new organisms. So secondary protonema. Next is sexual stage, wherein the sex organs, that is antheridia and archegonia, will be produced at the apex of the leafy shoot. So in which stage they are formed? In the leafy stage, right? So budding and all that, vegetative reproduction occurs in the protonema stage, sexual reproduction occurs in the leafy stage. You have to remember that. And after fertilization, same thing, zygote will form. That zygote will develop into a sporophyte. The sporophyte is nothing but it is made up of foot, seta and capsule. Now in the capsule, what is there? It will have spores. So those spores, sporophyte will undergo, or the capsule will undergo meiosis to release the spores. That spores will be haploid and the spores will get dispersed, and wherever it falls, it will germinate during the availability of moisture. It will germinate and it develop into a new thalloid or a plant body. So this is how reproduction occurs in mosses. Next, talking about some of the common examples of mosses. So, common example for liverwort is Marchantia. For mosses, it is Funaria, Polytrichum and Sphagnum. So, we have Funaria here, Polytrichum, and Sphagnum. So, these are some of the examples of mosses. Now you know the topic, you know the general characteristics of bryophytes and how the reproduction occurs and all that. We shall look into some of the MCQs. So first one, dash are also called amphibians of the plant kingdom. It is bryophytes. So bryophytes are called the amphibians of the plant kingdom. Next, dash is the male sex organ in bryophyte. Anthridium, archegonium, oogonium, sporangium. In the case of bryophytes, we don't call it as oogonium or sporangium. We call it as anthridium, which is the male reproductive structure, a male sex organ. So mosses belong to algae, pteridophytes, bryophytes or gymnosperms. So mosses belongs to bryophytes because under bryophytes there are two classes. One is liverwort and other one is mosses. Next, dash is a liverwort. Is it Marchantia, Funaria, Polytrichum or Sphagnum? No, it is Marchantia because Marchantia is an example for liverwort. They come under liverworts. Funaria, Polytrichum and Sphagnum, they come under mosses. They are mosses. So the question can be framed like this. Dash is an example for mosses. So like that also question can be framed. So gemma present in which? That is in dash. Is it liverworts? It is Marchantia example. If you remember the examples and the diagram, you'll know. Is it mosses, pteridophytes, gymnosperms? No, it is liverworts because liverworts, I showed you an example of Marchantia where very beautiful gemma cups were produced in that, right? So the answer is liverworts here. So the creeping green filamentous stage in mosses, it is the protonema stage. Why? Because in protonema stage, I told you, here buds are formed in the leaf, like that is in the creeping green filamentous stage and all that, the buds will be formed and they will germinate. All that we have studied. But in the leafy stage, it is wherein the male and the female gametophytes develop there. So therefore, it's not the leafy stage, it is the protonema stage. It's neither the sporophytic stage nor the gametophytic stage because both of this comes under the leafy stage itself. So it's the protonema stage. Next, in mosses, meiosis occurs or reduction division occurs during, is it during spore formation, gamete formation, antheridia formation or archegonia formation? No, it is during the spore formation wherein the sporophyte, because we learned that the zygote develops into the sporophyte which is diploid. That sporophyte will undergo meiosis or reduction division to produce haploid spores, right? So therefore, in mosses, meiosis occurs during spore formation or the formation of spores. Next, the bryophytes are attached to the substratum by, is it seta, roots? It's not seta. No, it's not roots. Why? Because I told you they don't have true roots. Instead, they have root-like structures called as rhizoids. So therefore, the answer is rhizoids here. Is it stipe or it's not? All these are not the right answer. It's the rhizoids is the right answer. Which of the following is not an asexual mode in bryophytes? Budding. Understand the question. Not an asexual mode. So read the question properly whenever you answer in your exam also. Not an asexual mode. Is it budding? Is it fragmentation? Is it gemme? Is it sporophyte formation? It is not an asexual mode means budding is an asexual method of reproduction. Fragmentation is an asexual method of reproduction. Gemma is an asexual method of reproduction. But can I mark these? No. Why? Because what is the question? It is not an asexual method of reproduction. So therefore, these answers are wrong. The right answer here is sporophyte formation. So here the question 9th one, which of the following is not an asexual mode in bryophytes? What is the question? Not an asexual mode. So budding is an asexual mode of reproduction. Fragmentation is an asexual mode of reproduction. Gemme cup is also, formation of gemme is also an asexual mode of reproduction. Why? Because budding, the bud will develop in the protonema stage. They separate and develop into a new body. Fragmentation, the thalloid breaks into fragments and they'll develop into new organism. Gemme, the gemme cup separates, detaches itself from the thalloid or the plant body and it will germinate and develop into a new plant body or a gametophyte. So here, but sporophyte formation occurs during the sexual method of reproduction in bryophytes. So therefore, this is the answer. So here, understand and read the question very, very carefully even in your exam. The question was, it is not an asexual mode. So therefore, sporophyte formation is not an asexual mode. If the question was, which is the asexual mode in bryophytes, then here I would have written all of the above, then you should have marked all of the above because all of these are asexual modes of reproduction. So that is why. Next, gemma are formed in dash. Is it mosses, liverworts, eulothrix, tears? It's not eulothrix because eulothrix is a type of algae. It comes under algae. Tear is under pteridophytes. Liverworts comes under bryophytes. Mosses also come under bryophytes, but in mosses, gemma cups are not produced. But in liverworts, that is example Markantia, gemma cups are produced. So the right answer is liverworts here. So dash is the dominant phase in the life cycle of bryophytes. Is it sporophyte, gametophyte, protonema or prothallus? Protonema is one of the dominant stage in the gametophytic stage of bryophytes. But so therefore here the right answer that we have to choose is it is the gametophytic stage, because gametophytic stage is elaborate here. Sporophytic stage is very small, wherein the zygote will develop into sporophyte. Sporophyte undergoes meiosis, it produces spores. Again it will enter into the gametophytic stage. It is very small. So therefore here gametophytic is the lengthy one. The right answer is gametophytic stage. So this was about the session wherein we learnt about the general characteristics of bryophytes and also about its classes and the reproduction under bryophytes. And also we looked into some of the MCQs that can be framed under this particular topic, which can be of use to the in the exams. So I hope you understood this session well. So we shall meet again in the coming session with a new topic and discuss few MCQs under that. So meet you in the next session. Thank you.